All right, post CPI Tuesday, February 13th, a quick session recap here, primarily focused on the setup in ES. Now, what I had mentioned yesterday during the end of day recap, as well as this morning in the pre-market prep live stream, was the fact that sellers had a very, very strong opportunity to force prices lower simply based on that daily bar right there. That is a sell signal. Now, granted, it was on low volume, but this action definitely shows some exhaustion, especially considering the location. If we zoom out here, you can see that price had made a prior all-time high right through here, and so we do have a break above that all-time high, bit of an exhaustion move during yesterday's session. Now the question today was whether or not sellers could show follow-through of that sell bar. Now coming into the actual data print, what we have here is price resolving lower, trading down through that prior day low, kind of giving some early clues, right? No real bid here versus the prior day low. Pre-market action well below yesterday's low. So the question becomes, following data, is this near-term level structural importance right through here at 50.15 going to hold? We could see there's not any bid there. Not even remote interest at that 50.15, no interest at that 5K level. This was a significant level because it forced that change in character on the near-term chart. So we have a series of higher lows and higher highs on the near-term chart. I had mentioned if the 5K level breaks, it's going to be looking like, at least in the near term, that sellers were regaining control of this market. And that's pretty much exactly what we saw. No real bid until down into that 49.75. You start to get a little bit of interest there, but prices ultimately resolve lower into our weekly downside level of interest at that 49.60 area. And again, just zooming out, you can see the significance of these levels here by just looking left on the chart, on your 30-minute, on your 60-minute chart, right? Now price did stage a decent bounce versus that 49.60 level of interest. Some good opportunities with that bounce play today. You do have a lot of structural importance right through there. So I like to position myself near these big areas, these big volume point of control zones. There's going to be a lot of market participation in these areas. And again, that's exactly what we saw during kind of the late morning session there. Looking at the intraday chart. Now, price really fails to sustain over VWAP and over that pre-market structure that we had there, and ultimately resolves lower down through into session lows and into one of last week's level of interest at the 49.35, now staging pretty nice bounce into the close. So question becomes, what are we looking at for tomorrow? Well, what I'm going to be focused on is how price trades versus this 49.60 level of interest right through here, as well as the near-term volume point of control. Buyers are going to, of course, be mostly interested in defending this area right through here. So I'll be focused on the reaction versus that 49.60 into tomorrow's regular trading hour session, as well as this near-term volume point of control right through here, call it 49.70. Going to be treating this like a wide zone and trading, again, the reaction versus that key zone. Now, buyers' main objective, again, is to hold the 49.60, but not only that, actually break today's high for a true change in character. Because what we see now, looking at the near term, is a series of lower highs, right? So if you're a buyer here, what you don't want to see is price just making another lower high and ultimately resolving lower. So a couple of things to keep an eye on for tomorrow's session in ES. Again, main watch going to be that 49.60 zone there, currently trading back up into VWAP into the close here. So we get into the closing bell. Now, as far as NQ, quite similar as far as the structure is concerned. The main thing I wanted to see today in NQ was this reaction versus this blue zone here on the hourly chart. We can see that has been an important pivot in weeks prior. Price initially just cascades right through it, right? We do have a test of a lower area of support down here into that 17,560 area. Again, just looking left on the chart, nothing magic about this, just looking for prior areas of supply and demand on the chart. You can see the big hourly hammer there. Price stages a really nice bounce. That was a 200-point bounce in NQ back up into that area of resistance where I'd mentioned in the chat, if you're long, you probably want to be trimming here. There's going to be a tough location to be taking any longs. Price rolls over there. We make a fresh session low, retesting that area of support where, again, you see another bounce. So definitely have some responsive buyers versus this 17,560 level of interest. For NQ, going to be interested in trading two potential zones for tomorrow. Same thing I have on the chart right now, this 17,775 and this 17,560 area. These are going to be the big levels of interest for tomorrow's session in NQ. Now, as far as individual names, scans were actually quite dry. I do have DDOG potentially on watch for tomorrow, looking at a potential second day play here in DDOG. Held the trigger nicely. Want to see if there's any follow through to potentially force the daily time frame breakout here. It's about it for the end of day scan and the session recap. Hope everyone had a profitable session. I will see you tomorrow morning for the pre-market prep live stream. Feel free to send me any questions via direct message in the Traders Think Tank. Have a great evening.